that medley used a rhythm called semi, and the semi is a 10-8 or 10-4, depending on how you want to count it. And that one goes, I like to count it in two pairs of 5. So doom, S, S, tech, S is the first half, and the second half is doom, doom, tech, S, S. So doom, S, S, tech, S. The accent is on the fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then in the second half, doom, doom, tech, S, S. The accent is on the 3. So it's two different ways of phrasing a 5 beats. One person. Yeah. So well, we played that already, but I'll play you a little example of it. S, 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 when I first learned it, I was just trying to count it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And my teacher, Najib, said, no, don't do it that way. Repeat the phrasing of the syllables in your head. And that's the way to properly learn these rhythms and really internalize them. He even had a meditation where you would hold your hands close to your heart and say, for the dooms, you would go like this, and for the techs, techs and S's, you would do that. So it would be like, doom, S, S, tech, S, doom, doom, tech, S, S, doom, S, S. And that was really frustrating to me because I just wanted to play it. I wanted to play the rhythm. I wanted to do this meditation thing. But when I actually did it a few times, it really allowed the rhythm to sink into my mind. And after that, I started looking at everything different. You know, I had this long rhythm in my head, and I started noticing like things about life that I didn't see before. Interesting.
Rhythm can do that.
I want to just bring up one point. George just said, you know, that you have to, his teacher said, what's important is the beat, not counting. And that's a really common theme throughout all music between Greece and Bulgaria and India and Iran. And everything in between is that if you count it, it's just a time signature. It's just 10-8. It's not a beat. It's a rhythm if you memorize it with the letters of the percussive alphabet. And it actually becomes a rhythm. You can't, there's not a lot of messing around with these. So that's part of what internalizing is. It's not just 10 numbers, it's an actual rhythm. And same with maqam versus scale. A lot of people think, you know, maqam is these notes in order. It's not. You know, it's the same thing as what George was saying. If you count it, it's just a time signature. But if you internalize this particular rhythm and beats, it becomes an actual rhythm, beat. And it's the same with maqams. If it's just a scale, it's just a scale. It's just a bunch of notes. But a maqam is like, it's the analog to time signature and beat. There's scale and maqam. And that's a common theme. Also with form. Song form is the same.
Stress patterns actually play a large role. As we mentioned earlier, rhythms are very indigenous to their region. I mean, they hold those dearly. In fact, Tunisian rhythms, funny enough, our teacher was Tunisian. They hold on to their rhythms like for dear life. They won't just release them to anybody unless you're truly committed to learning them and preserving the tradition. It stems from, you know, don't just take my tradition and misuse it. They want you to really hold on to it and preserve it and give it its respect, its traditional respect. But this is never more the case than in Tunisia, especially.
And we did something in that last song. At the end of the song, it switches from the 6/8 to a 4/4. And it's a very subtle switch there. And Najib, our teacher, would say that there's this thing in North African music that he's going to show us, but not yet. You know, we have to learn it properly, the 6/8 version, before we can work on switching back and forth between them. And he was very protective of that, and almost didn't ever really teach it to us. We had to find it ourselves.
Speaking of rhythms, the rhythms also do have a direct effect on the dialect that's usually spoken in that region. So, for example, Egyptian rhythms, a very common Egyptian rhythm is baladi. or maksum. And it's 4/4, like many of the rhythms in Egypt, very 4/4, and it has a direct line ازيك النهارده انا عامل ايه هتعمل ايه مش عارف هنعزف موسيقى. You go back to Moroccan, it's very unlike the upbeat, almost like how jazz is and it's like and you can see how the rhythm has a direct effect, or vice versa, how the language and the dialect spoken has a direct effect as to how they hear and interpret rhythms. Speaking of balad and baladi, the next piece we're going to play is called